Liana, a resilient but poor waitress, worked in the most luxurious cafe in the city, a place reserved for the elite. She hurried between tables, serving impeccably arranged dishes. As a poor waitress, she was used to bowing before wealthy customers, enduring their disdainful glances just to make ends meet. Today seemed like just another busy day, until the grand glass doors suddenly swung open. A man walked in. Tall, dressed in a sleek black designer suit, his chiseled features exuded an icy coldness. Without needing an introduction, Liana already knew who he was: Zion, the CEO of Fourier Financial Group. A man famously known as the coldest CEO in the business world. Lowering her head, Liana quickly approached his table, carrying a tray with freshly brewed coffee. But just as she neared him, another customer unexpectedly moved, knocking into her arm. Crash. The scalding coffee spilled directly onto Zion's expensive suit. The entire cafe fell silent. Staff turned pale and customers paused their conversations, all waiting to see the CEO's reaction. Everyone knew Zion was a man of few words but ruthless when it came to discipline. Liana bit her lip, her heart pounding. I'm so sorry, sir. It wasn't intentional. She quickly reached for napkins, but before she could do anything, a firm hand grasped her wrist. Zion remained silent, merely observing her. His gaze wasn't filled with anger or contempt. Instead, there was curiosity. "Do you have any idea how much this suit costs?" His deep voice echoed through the cafe. Liana looked up at him, worry flashing in her eyes. But rather than fear, she met his gaze with quiet determination. "I don't know, but I will take responsibility," she said firmly. Her response caught Zion off guard. The women Zion usually encountered either tried to win his favor or cowered before his power, but this one, she was different. A faint smirk crossed his lips. He let go of her wrist and spoke calmly. "There's no need. It's just a suit." Then, without another word, he stood up and left the cafe, leaving Liana standing there, stunned. She had no idea that this fateful encounter would change her life forever. 3 days after the incident at the cafe, Liana was certain she would never see Zion again. But life always had unexpected twists. That evening, as she finished her shift and was about to leave, a sleek black luxury car pulled up in front of the cafe. Tinted window rolled down, revealing a familiar, deep voice. "Get in." Liana turned to see Zion sitting inside. She hesitated. "Why should I?" Zion tilted his head slightly, his sharp gaze locking onto hers. "Because I have a proposition for you." "A proposition?" Liana blinked, curiosity getting the better of her. Against her better judgment, she stepped into the car. She needed to know what this man was up to. Car glided smoothly through the brightly lit city streets. The silence inside was heavy, almost suffocating. Sitting upright, Liana eyed Zion warily. "What do you want from me?" she finally asked. Zion didn't answer immediately. He studied her as if evaluating something rare and valuable. Then he spoke. "Be my girlfriend." Liana froze. "What?" Leaning back against the leather seat, Zion's voice was calm as if discussing a business deal. "I need a girlfriend to deal with my family." Liana frowned. "Why me?" "Because you're not like other women," he stated simply. She let out a dry laugh. "Mr. Zion, I'm just a poor waitress. Do you really think I can fool your powerful family?" He held her gaze unwavering. "We don't need to fool anyone. We just need them to see that I'm serious. You will be compensated." He slid a check onto the seat beside her. Liana clenched her jaw. She wasn't someone who could be easily swayed by money, but this amount, it could change her life forever. She looked up at Zion. His deep eyes were unreadable, yet there was no trace of mockery. "How long?" she asked. 3 months. Liana took a deep breath. She knew she was about to step into a dangerous game. But should she accept this offer? She stared at the check in front of her, her mind in turmoil. A part of her wanted to reject it immediately. She wasn't the kind of person who would trade her dignity for money. But another part hesitated. $10 million. That amount could change her life. Could pay off her debts, give her stability, maybe even help her open a small cafe, the dream she had long given up on. But in exchange, she would have to become Zion's girlfriend in front of his family. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Liana asked, her voice steadier than she expected. You could choose anyone else, someone more suited to your world. Zion's gaze remained cold yet unwavering. If I wanted someone else, I wouldn't have asked you. She let out a dry chuckle. You could hire a professional actress. I'm just a regular waitress. An actress can pretend. But I don't need an obvious scam, Zion replied, leaning back. His sharp eyes studied her. I need someone strong enough to stand their ground against my family. Someone who won't crumble under their scrutiny. Liana bit her lip. So, you want me to play the perfect girlfriend? Zion shook his head. Not perfect. Just convincing enough for them to believe I truly love you. He slid another piece of paper toward her. A contract. These are the terms, he said. You'll act as my girlfriend for 3 months. You'll attend events with me, make occasional public appearances, and most importantly, you can't back out midway. Liana skimmed through the terms. Nothing seemed unreasonable. No intimacy was required. No long-term obligations. Just public appearances and playing a role. She inhaled deeply, then looked up at him. If I agree, can I trust you? For the first time, Zion's expression wavered slightly. He didn't respond right away. But then, in a steady, low voice, he said, I won't do anything to harm you. That's a promise. Liana clenched her fists. She knew she was stepping into an unfamiliar world, one filled with deception, power, and manipulation. But she also knew this might be her only chance to change her fate. Finally, she picked up the pen. All right. I'll do it. A faint smirk appeared on Zion's lips. Good. A welcome to the game. 3 days later, Liana stood in front of an ornate mirror inside the luxurious dressing room of a high-end boutique. A deep blue evening gown hugged her figure, accentuating her delicate curves. For the first time in her life, she wore something worth more than her entire savings. Perfect, Zion's voice came from behind. Liana turned, meeting his cold yet approving gaze. Are you sure this is a good idea? She asked, still feeling unfamiliar with the woman in the mirror. My family won't accept you unless you present yourself exactly how they expect, he said matter-of-factly. This is a battle. And you need the right armor. Liana sighed. So my armor is designer clothing? Zion smirked. Partly. The rest is your attitude. You need to be confident, unshaken by anyone. She nodded, though unease still lingered in her chest. As Liana stepped out of the car, her heart pounded at the sight before her. The Fourier estate was nothing short of a palace, with towering marble columns and dazzling chandeliers casting golden light over the grand hall. Inside, hundreds of distinguished guests laughed and conversed, wine glasses glimmering in their hands. The moment Liana stepped in, every gaze turned toward her. A regal woman with piercing eyes approached, none other than Mélanie Fourier, Zion's mother. So, this is my son's girlfriend. Her tone was icy, her sharp gaze assessing Liana as if she were inspecting merchandise. Liana took a deep breath, forcing herself to stay composed. I'm Liana. It's a pleasure to meet you, she spoke evenly. Mélanie raised a delicate brow, seemingly surprised by her lack of fear. How intriguing! A subtle smile played on her lips. I wonder what makes you special enough for Zion to defy his family. Liana clenched her hands, but before she could respond, Zion's arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her close. I chose her. That's all that matters, he said, his voice firm and unwavering. Tense silence filled the air. Liana knew the real battle had just begun. The atmosphere at the party remained thick after the sharp exchange. Guests watched with curiosity, waiting to see how Liana would handle herself. So, you're a waitress? A mocking voice cut through the air. Liana turned and found herself face to face with a middle-aged man, one of Zion's uncles, judging by his smug demeanor. He smirked, his eyes filled with disdain. Zion tightened his grip on her hand, but Liana gave him a subtle squeeze, signaling she could handle it. Yes, that's right. I used to be a waitress, Liana said with a slight smile. And I'm proud of it. Whispers spread throughout the room. The man scoffed. And what exactly makes you worthy of Zion? Liana had anticipated this. I don't need to prove anything to anyone, she replied. The only person I need to prove myself to is Zion. Zion's grip on her hand tightened, a flicker of pride flashing in his eyes. Melanie Fourier watched the scene unfold, her expression darkening. It was clear she wasn't pleased with Liana's strength. "You're right," Melanie finally spoke. Her tone was calm, but it carried an unspoken pressure. "But this family has rules. And if you want to be part of it, you'll have to prove you can abide by them." Liana arched a brow. "And what exactly do you want me to do?" A slow, knowing smile spread across Melanie's lips. "Leave Zion. If you truly love him, you won't drag him down." The room fell silent. Zion immediately stepped forward, his voice ice-cold. "Mother, that's enough." But Liana simply smiled. She met Melanie's gaze head-on, unwavering. "Sorry, but that's not part of my plan." The murmurs around them grew louder. Liana knew this fight wouldn't be easy, but she had already made her decision. She wouldn't let go of Zion. Melanie didn't look surprised by Liana's answer. She merely smiled faintly, though her sharp eyes betrayed clear disapproval. "You seem very confident," she said smoothly, her voice laced with authority. "But do you understand that a woman who marries into the Fourier family cannot survive on love alone?" Liana took a deep breath. She knew Melanie wasn't wrong. The Fouriers weren't just wealthy, they were an empire. They didn't judge people solely by their background, but by their power and influence in society. "I understand," Liana replied firmly. "But I don't believe someone's worth is defined by their upbringing. And I certainly don't believe love can be manipulated or destroyed by status and power." A soft chuckle echoed through the room. A well-dressed woman standing next to Melanie spoke with a touch of mockery. "Words are easy, dear. But when you step into high society, you'll learn that only power sustains anything." Liana recognized her. It was Isabella Fourier, the wife of one of Zion's uncles, known for her cold elegance and sharp tongue. "So, according to you, marriage requires power, not love?" Liana asked, tilting her head slightly with a sharp yet polite smile. Isabella arched a brow. "That's how the world works, sweetheart." Liana studied the women before her, wealthy, powerful, commanding. But were they truly happy? She tightened her grip on Zion's hand. "If that's the case, then I'm sorry. But I don't belong in the world you're talking about." Melanie's eyes narrowed. "And what exactly do you mean by that?" Liana lifted her chin. "I don't need the Fourier family's approval. I only need Zion. If what we have is real, no one can break it." Isabella scoffed. "How naive." Zion's voice cut through the tension, cold and resolute. "Enough. If everyone thinks they can pressure Liana with harsh words, I'm afraid you're wasting your time." He turned to his mother, his gaze unwavering. "I love her. Whether you accept it or not. I won't let go." Melanie's hands clenched, but she said nothing. Tension in the room reached its peak. Liana knew this battle wasn't over, but she wouldn't back down. She had chosen this path, and she would see it through, even if she was only playing the role of Zion's girlfriend for 3 months. 2 weeks had passed since that stormy night at the Fourier mansion, and Liana hadn't heard a word from Zion. She was growing restless, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, unsure where the line between pretense and reality lay. "You can't just sit around waiting like this," Anna, her best friend, snapped in frustration. "If he truly loves you, he should be the one coming to you." Liana gave a faint smile. "Zion isn't like ordinary men. He doesn't give up easily. But he's also not the type to blindly follow emotions." "So, what are you going to do?" Liana was quiet for a moment, then took a deep breath. "I'm going to find him,"